Part 2. Car conversations with Mr. Cage. Don't let school get in the way of education. Part 2, y'all. Let's go. Let's do it. I don't say let's do it. Let's do it. These some concrete stuff to consider, man. Real talk. Realtalk.com. Real talk. Today is May the 24th. Depending on where you live, some of your child, whether they're in pre-K, kindergarten, elementary, middle school, or high school, your child may be in school, they may be out of school. They may have a week left. All depends on where you live across the United States of America. And I'm specifically saying the United States of America. When I'm talking and we having this conversation, I'm talking to Americans. I'm not talking to foreigners, people in different countries. I'm specifically sharing my thoughts, my heartbeat, my expertise as a teacher and an educator, specifically to Americans. Your kids may be out of school, and they may be transitioning to summer break. I've surveyed a countless number of high school students, from freshmen to senior. And my question to them in my survey, verbal survey, is how many of us are going to do anything academic over the summer by a show of hands? A lot of hands don't come up, y'all. And this is the tragedy that accompanies being schooled. Because when you are schooled, in addition to many other factors, but one of the key components and the key factors that influence this type of behavior is going to school every day, 5 days a week. That's one of the factors. It's the routine, it's the logistics, it's the procedures that's embedded in the system that produces this mentality, which equates to a behavior. Think before you do. Many hands don't go up. Some of the reasons why the hands don't go up, the students say, the summertime is my time. That's my time for a break. I would like to do something that is more interesting to me. These are some of the comments that I get when I ask these questions. And it doesn't necessarily break my heart. I'll be straight 100 with you. It doesn't, because this is what the young people, they sharing with me how they feel. Because the trust is there. They have an open, safe space to give me their opinion. I don't have to combat their opinion, because I'm trying to learn how they think, how they feel, and what they see. That's the goal. What I tell them is this: education can occur inside the building and outside the building, as I shared with you in the first video, part 1. But you can't afford to stop learning because you're not in school. It makes it more, this is me talking to them, it makes it more difficult for you to get back into the routine of things. It makes it more difficult for your teachers if you do nothing academic. And specifically, when I say academic, I lean more towards them reading. Because I know, as an avid reader and a professional and as an educator, the brain is a muscle. And in order for any muscle to get stronger, it has to be consistently exercised. There has to be repetition. There has to be practice. And in that aspect, the type of practice that I'm speaking of is not so much that you read a whole bunch of pages, but that the pages that you read, you comprehend the material and its relevancy to your life. Don't let school get in the way of your education. There are cues that produce school-like behavior. I'm repeating this. There are cues that produce school-like behavior. And school-like behavior looks like this. Mediocrity. I'm gonna do just enough to say that I completed this assignment. Or I got an exam tomorrow. I'm gonna cram all this information in to pass the exam, because once I pass the exam, I have no use for this information. I have no use of anything that I have ascertained, took in, and studied. That's when school has gotten in the way of our education, because our education is not supposed to have limits. It's not supposed to. It really doesn't, but some of us are not aware of it. And when I say some of us, I'm speaking of individuals that have experienced this in their childhood and it's transitioned into their adulthood. Our education should not have limits, but those limits that our education has, because we're not awakened to our environment and we're not self-aware, nor are we aware of our interaction with others, there has been a limit set on our education. So when people come to us and they try to speak to us about topics that may be challenging or topics that we don't find interest in, we close it off. I want to give this example that we have at Potential. We have partner schools. We have strong relationships with our partner schools. Shout out to them. You know who you are. But what occurs is that when we're going into a school, a literal brick and mortar school, and we begin to facilitate these potential sessions, these sessions that are saturated in restorative practices, cognitive thinking, and scenario-based learning, sometimes what happens is that the students are the frozen chosen. They become the frozen chosen. And this is what we have to say to them. Pause, y'all. This is what I need you to do. Take off your academic hat. Take that hat off, because we really want to know how you feel and what you think, which sometimes it opens up the atmosphere for them to share. Sometimes it doesn't. It's various factors that go into that. How many people in the room, who's in the room, the question, the topic. It's so many factors that influence a student's participation in that type of environment. Is immeasurable how many factors can influence that. But one of the factors, once again, is that the students have been schooled. They're coming into a brick and mortar situation. I'm speaking in general now. They're coming into a brick and mortar situation where there are right and wrong answers. And in some instances, the room or the bandwidth for participation is minimal. It's minimum bandwidth for participation because the teachers, bless their heart, males and females all over the United States of America, these individuals have a set amount of time to download this information to our kids, with the outcome being facilitation of an exam that hopefully these kids pass. So my goal for episode 3 of Don't Let Your School Get in the Way of Your Education is I'm going to talk about exams. Then I'm going to go into what it looks like, how schooling has gotten in the way of education for us as adults. So I've discussed a little bit about the impact and what it looks like in the school settings, particularly in high schools. But in episode 3, I'm going to reveal to you how treacherous this system is and its presence in people. And as adults, many of us don't even know it, my brothers and sisters. But after episode 3, you will know what I mean when I say school has gotten in the way of our education. What I'm not trying to convey to you all is that school is a bad thing. It is many positive attributes that come from being in the institution, because some of our kids are getting some of the structure, the discipline, and the order that many of them may not be getting at their homesteads for various reasons. So it could be more pros than cons, or more cons than pros. My goal is not to argue that. My goal is to show you how the system and the processes and the procedures and the orientation that's embedded in the system, how it brings limitation to education, which limits the intake of the student, and whatever you put out is going to be based on what you intake. And if my limitations and my defense mechanisms pop up when I sit in the classroom, hear the word school, or somebody asks me to write something down, we're going to be in a social economic crisis, because there's going to be a limit placed on how much value that we can provide to the marketplace, because we haven't been taught how to add, support, or create value in the marketplace. Yeah, we'll go into that, but I just want you to be great at what you do, but be greater at who you are.